Okay, good evening everyone. Can you hear me down the back? Great. Okay, just let me know if I get a little bit quiet or if I do speak too quickly for you. So a little bit about me that Julie's already mentioned is I have, my background is in primary school teaching. When I had my first child, I cross-credited and went into early childhood. I've always had a passion for counselling, so therefore I also did some study and now I'm practising as a counsellor as well. So tonight I'm wearing my counsellor hat, but I'm dabbling a little bit on my previous experience of working with younger children. Some attractive photos up there, aren't there? Okay, so my first point for you this evening is eye on the prize. And the fact that you're here this evening tells me that you're already on track with this point. What I'm saying is our goal as teachers, parents, caregivers, family members is to ultimately raise children who are going to be emotionally capable and mature adults. I think if we get to when our children are 20, 25, if they're emotionally capable and they're participating and contributing to society, we've reached our goal. But in order to get there, we need to be able to ensure that our children are comfortable with all of their emotions, and that includes anger. This also requires us, though, to be comfortable with our anger and know what triggers us. Following on from that is that anger has a purpose. It tells us that not all is well with our world. Now, if you were like me, when I was at school a few years ago, I was told that anger was one letter away from danger. So anger was not a positive emotion. It was something to be contained. It was something not to express, basically. It wasn't safe. And my message tonight is that that is not true. Anger is something that we do need to be aware of, that we need to understand our triggers, and that we need to have developed strategies for managing our anger. In fact, anger can be a positive emotion as it can motivate us to make changes in our world. It's like Claire mentioned before, the emotion isn't the danger. It's what we do with it. And I'll come a bit more to that later. This resonated with me when I was preparing for this presentation, because as a parent myself, I've often had this thought that this kid is giving me a hard time, whether it's during the night, whether it's the tantrums during the day. And this is a really pertinent point to remember that when we are being triggered by our children, that although yes, our child is pushing our buttons, it's because they're actually having a hard time. So when we think about our goal as our parent, caregiver, whānau, teacher, I suggest that you write down what is your personal goal. What would your ideal outcome for your child look like? I alluded at the beginning, it's a competent, mature individual. But what is your personal goal? What does that look like to you? I think in today's world where we're all so busy, and there's the illusion that we're connected when really we're not, because authentic communication doesn't occur on Facebook, it doesn't occur on texting, it occurs face to face. But in a busy society, busy times, a lot of that isn't happening. So taking the time to actually write down what is your goal as a parent, as a teacher, it enables you to focus and come back to what's really important. And as I've already mentioned, this goal typically includes a description of a well-rounded, healthy adult. And again, so managing anger is a really important aspect of your parenting or your work with children. This requires you to reflect on what anger actually means to you. What triggers you? Are you aware of what triggers you? Are you comfortable with your own feelings of anger or anger around you? If you are struggling with anger, I suggest or I encourage you to seek support. And I like to think you need to put on your own oxygen mask before you can help other people. So if you're not able to contain your anger or catch yourself when you're beginning to get angry, you have very little chance of helping the little people in your life. My second point is the message behind anger. Claire alluded to this before, that often we see anger as a negative thing, or that we get caught up in the emotional response of anger, when it's really important to remember that anger is a secondary emotion. There is always another unpleasant emotion underneath anger, and that is usually hurt or fear. Now, anger is less vulnerable, so it feels safer than expressing hurt or fear. When your child or a child in your care is starting to exhibit anger, I suggest you stop and consider what may have caused this anger and what might the primary emotion be. Is the child feeling fearful, or is the child feeling hurt? Really important and very difficult to do, I acknowledge, is to stop and remember that it's not about you. The child, although it may be targeted at you, the child's angry response is actually not about you. So keep calm, it's not about you. Keep the child safe. So if your child is having a really angry outburst, keep them safe. Hold your child accountable for their behaviour, so the consequences of their anger, but never for actually experiencing or having that feeling of anger. My third point is that difficult emotions are actually learning opportunities in disguise. Difficult emotions show us the learning edges of our children and the areas that they need our help teaching and coaching in. The more that you encourage your child or children to name, identify and express the feelings that they have, the less likely that these emotions will build up and erupt as angry emotions. Claire alluded to also Inside Out before, but amazing resources are being developed, such as the movies Inside Out, which make discussing emotions, which are quite abstract concepts, with children easier and easier. For example, I saw at the warehouse you can buy all of the characters and dolls, and I thought to myself, what a fantastic resource to have when your children are expressing emotions, to say, wow, which emotion do you think you're feeling? So it gives an abstract concept, something tangible, just an idea. And also, you might already have in your classrooms or learning environments different charts or flip charts of emotions that people express when they're feeling certain feelings, helping children to become aware. And if your child is feeling angry, giving that a label or a description, or I can see you're feeling angry. A personal experience, my 6-year-old is learning how to ride her bike without her training wheels. Wow. She definitely expressed a bit of anger and a bit of frustration at how difficult it was without the training wheels. And actually being able to step back and not get caught up in her frustration and tell her, I can see this is really hard for you, it's challenging, I can see you're frustrated, and encouraging her to keep persevering. And then on the other side of that, enjoying the success with her. In terms of holding her accountable, if she's feeling frustrated or angry about the experience of riding with her bike, that's fine. Kicking the bike or pushing the bike into the house, that's not okay. So that's what we'd be critiquing with our child. Seizing the opportunity. So when your child is exhibiting difficult or challenging emotions, take a breath, step back, and realise that this is actually an opportunity in disguise for me to do some coaching, teaching, helping. Again, help your child to identify what they might be feeling. They might not know what they're feeling or the label for it. Teach your child how to redirect their anger to a more appropriate outlet. This may mean that your child needs help with problem-solving strategies. Again, this is age appropriate. And really important, model good anger management skills yourself. I've often think Auckland road rage in the car, when you're starting to get hot under the collar and you've got kids in the back with you, verbalising that, wow, I'm really frustrated with the traffic. So you're verbalising what it's like, or you're modelling what it's like to share the feelings that you're feeling. And finally, if you are needing support, so if these strategies aren't working for you, or you've gone too far already, or you need help with your emotions, I suggest you don't struggle alone. Look through KidsLink for service providers that can help you, your child, or all of you in a group setting. Thank you.